Say what? Look.
It's the New OGs. The New OGs is a State and Madison entertainment production and is brought to you by Solar Masters. Look, Illinois is changing how people get their electricity, and Solar Masters is helping homeowners in Illinois take advantage of a program that lets them get solar power at no cost. If you're a single-family homeowner in the state of Illinois, you can lower your electric bill, raise the value of your home, and do something good for the environment without paying a single dollar out of your pocket to do so. In fact, Solar Masters can only work with you if they can save you money. Solar Masters is black-owned and a sun-powered dealer, which is an American panel maker that has over 30 years of solar experience. They even have a referral program that pays out as much as $500 per referral. So head over to www.gosolarmasters.com.
Bobby.
Yes, sir. That's very calm. Wow, are you?
That was quiet.
Wow. You're not in the room today, and you're quiet as. You're in the room, and you blew out an eardrum.
So here's the thing, Bobby.
Yeah, man.
I think after 101 episodes of me asking you, can people save money? And then you say, can he not hear me?
I can hear you.
I was waiting for you to reply. But anyway, after 101 episodes of me asking you.
We're doing this long?
On the electric bill.
Yeah, they can save money on their electric bill, but they know this.
And 101 episodes of me asking they can do something good for the environment.
Right, they can do something good for the environment, of course.
And 101 episodes of me asking, and they can get $500 just for referring somebody?
They can also, even if they don't have a home of their own that they're getting solar on, they can get $500 just by referring somebody. That's all true stuff.
I think you got it right, and I think the people have heard you. So I don't think I need to be spectacular about it anymore, man. It's just a good goddamn deal. Get you some solar. Get you some solar in your life. Also, by the way, if you watch our show from time to time, do us a favor and like and refer a friend. Because if you like it, you probably got a friend that'll like it. They might not get it at first, but they'll stick with it and they'll like it too. Subscribe.
Yeah, if you want to get more excited about making money than Excel is right now, get over to www.gosolarmasters.com. Get in contact for a free consultation or refer somebody that you know. We are also brought to you by People of Comedy. That is a network that we are on right now. That is how we were able to pull this off with us in different locations and making all this happen for you guys, going live here almost every Friday. Get over to People of Comedy on Facebook. See all their podcasts, fresh shows. You can check them out wherever you listen to pods. Still extra noise going on no matter what I'm doing. Trying to run.
Me?
No, it was me this time. It's it's one of those weird things. There's so many things that happen when you start a podcast when you're trying to share to all the different places you have to share it to. And even when you turn the volume down on one thing on a device, it doesn't mean it's turned down all the things on the device because I haven't made that setting to make it the control for all the things. And so
I heard that. I thought that was something we had going on, so I just went with it.
It's wild. We try not to leave anybody out, right? Like if you got beef with Twitch and you only want to watch us on YouTube, we want to make sure you can go watch us on YouTube. If you are a Facebook person, which I don't know why you would be, but if you're a Facebook person, if you want to nuck and buck with Zuck and you go to Facebook only and you watch our page, we want to make sure you have all the options. So when we go live, we got to make sure everybody knows. But we're also doing like 15. There's so many different connections here. I don't know. Your electric bill, man.
Oh, it's not fun.
You might as well be mining Bitcoin out of here as well with everything else going on. You got a rig going in the back, just like fuck it,
What my second bedroom's for.
It is just two of the regular hosts in studio today. We had planned to have everybody in studio as advertised.
It was supposed to be full A-team, as Jonathan Hood says. It was supposed to be full A-team, and we couldn't do full A-team. My dumb ass waited until today to try to get something checked out on my car and discovered that I probably should have got some shit checked out on my car maybe Wednesday or Tuesday or like one of the earlier days in the week.
Yeah, that is not a Gen X moment. That is still a young dude moment. That's a mistake you make when you're 23 trying to get somewhere.
I literally, this is how confident I was going to be in and out of there. I fast, intermittent fast. I went there. Literally, I was like, I'll get an oil change and get some coffee. And they were like, nah, man, you're going to be here for like 3 hours. We got a lot of stuff we got to do. Okay. And 3 hours turned to about 4.5. So I'm at home.
You're home eating shit. I see you got a mug of something going on there. So you.
It's water with a little bit of fruit juice.
Okay, you got a little something to get you going. They'll get you through the next hour. No mushrooms in there this time.
There's no mushrooms. I looked at the motherfucking mushrooms so hard. I was like, I ain't got nowhere to be. I looked at it and I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm already mad because I'm already not mad, but I'm unhappy about not being in the studio.
Yeah.
So,
and then to make matters worse, Rob Hines, our co-host, who's actually in Chicago, who often joins us by Zoom, but was going to be able to be with us today, was having car trouble on his way in and was literally waiting for AAA like 5 minutes ago before the show started. We were just like, hey, man, take care of the car, get home safely, and we'll catch you on the flip, man. And so here I am, the man who's driven the furthest down here early in the
that's
day.
the craziest part.
Came all the way down to chill in the studio with my man James, which I'm happy about. It's cool, though, because I'd already planned to stop by Laugh Factory after this. Because after the night that I had there on Wednesday, I felt like I should go back in there and be like, hey, I could send you this tape. We just watch it together right now. If y'all want to.
That is a good idea.
Like
the family tore it down this week.
Yeah,
in multiple venues.
Yeah, it was good getting back with Duran Howard and Rob Hines, and those guys haven't seen me in a minute. And I think the last show I did with Duran Howard was at North Bar with maybe a couple other guys, and it was not one of my better. Is
that when Jeff Brown was in town too?
Yeah.
I remember that night. Yeah.
You're like, I remember that set. You were fucking horrible, dog. It was not one of my better. It was not one of my better.
Oh no, it wasn't like sets. I wouldn't say that. I was not thinking that. I was just saying I remember that night. I was not co-signing.
Yeah, I for sure remember that night. You were ass, dog. You were fucking full ass.
I like how you kind of went Charlie Murphy right there for a second. Your voice went a little bit Charlie Murphy.
Yeah, it was not. So it was good to be able to, like, you know, when you hear Rob cackling from the second floor of the Laugh Factory in the background at some, you know, while you're putting some people in their place on some shit, it's a feel good moment. You know what I mean? So it was good. The last couple nights have been good, and so I'm just trying to make sure they remember that they can still book people who are in their 40s. That's what.
There you go.
Like, look, we can give you a good 10, 15 too. You know, it's fine. We'll take $30 just like everybody else. Or whatever the hell they're paying these days. Did I share too many secrets about how have I broken union rules? Have I broken union rules on how to keep us all broke at this thing that we spend months and months writing 10 good minutes for?
This is the one show they watch.
This will be it. Yeah, this will be it.
Oh really?
Yeah. Oh, you go watch us here? How about watch us on the stage? No, this is not about any club in particular. This is about all of them in general. What's going on, X? How you doing, man?
I'm actually,
now that I've destroyed my comedy career.
Man. I'm doing well, man. I've had a really good week. I spent time working with Duran and Rob as well. Got some writing done. Helped Rob. He gave me credit for it, but I take zero credit. Not zero credit because I don't want to take credit for it, but I gave him a suggestion for a bit, and he wrote a completely different, word for word, completely different bit. And it hit really well. And he goes, "Hey man, the joke you wrote for me went great." And I was like, "That is not the joke I wrote for you." Those jokes bear no resemblance whatsoever. My joke gave you the idea for your joke, but I had nothing to do with the joke that you did, which was way better than my joke, by the way. But I thought, it's like, he kept telling me, it's like, yeah, that's that bit you wrote. I was like, I didn't write that. It was literally like if I handed you a mud pie and you handed me back a snowball and you were like, "Thanks for the idea."
Hey man, and the real thing is like when you get to, as long as you get to the level when you start getting paid for stuff like that, they can rewrite it in any fucking way they want. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. When they're with, hey, the check still cash? Yeah, you can change the words. You can change every single word in that to something else. It's totally fine. You can. As long as my name's still on it, bet we gonna be all right.
There you go. I get the byline.
We gonna survive. You know what I mean?
Get the byline.
It's been a wild week overall. It's July 4th weekend. We actually witnessed an interesting phenomenon last night in a change in times. To set this up properly, we were in the suburbs of Chicago. We were not in the city. So like in the city, I'm sure shit was definitely open. But we finished the show and we were trying. I had to stay out because I was picking somebody up from the airport late, and we stayed out because I was like, let's go get like not a drink, but let's just sit down somewhere we can there's a TV on. We may have a pop or something, some water.
We could, like go someplace, get a couple ice waters and watch Chuck and Shaq and them break down how the Bucks won without Giannis. That's what popped in my head of exactly what we were gonna do. So and we ran into several trouble.
Yeah, well, the main trouble was like we picked out like three, like an ale house, so a chain restaurant that's usually open pretty fucking late, an actual bar location. We went to like three or four. We went to three different spots that were all closed by 11 o'clock. Yeah. They were all closed by 11 o'clock that would normally be open. And the other spot we went to had a crazy sign on their door that was like, due to government handouts, we are severely short-staffed, so be patient because our servers are overworked because nobody wants to work. And so we walked in just to be like, well, maybe the atmosphere isn't that. And we got inside, we were like, it's definitely that. We're right the fuck back out of here.
Yeah. It was so funny, man. I know you are aware of situations and stuff like that, but when I leaned over, I was like, hey, we're not gonna be talking to any girls. Let's not talk to any girls here. Some of you were like, yeah, I know. we were in an environment that if we had tried to pick up one of the women in the bar, it was going to be one of those now you can't leave.
Yeah. I was just
real quick.
I was like,
we were the tallest people in that bar by a lot.
Yeah, but also like, it's one of those things where it's like, well, how many fifth graders could you fight before?
Just fatigue. But do you realize how much big? Did you remember how much bigger we were? Than everybody?
But also we came in and we weren't going to order actual alcoholic drinks, which just made us look like two big cops who came in to just scope us. Like I look like me, and you look like a guy who you speak like a guy who was probably a cop. You know what I mean? Like if you don't know no better and you're in a bar situation and you come in, it's like, oh, they done trick one of them brothers into becoming a cop. That's what they did. It's a Shaquille O'Neal type quality in which you're like, he's probably a good guy. You know what I mean? Like that was the thing. And we're sitting there and you said that shit like, we ain't gonna pick up no girls. I'm like, nigga, we ain't staying here. The minute I realized it, like, oh yeah, we're not even gonna drink alcohol in this place. And when we walked in, it was one of those things. Like the music kept playing, but it was definitely one of those movie moments where everybody just like, whoa.
I'm not trying to call anybody out, so I'm not saying specifically why, but me and Bobby stood out a great deal in this particular bar.
Yeah, the people there were shorter than us by a considerable amount. But not a non-dangerous group of people. You know what I mean? They were.
There you go.
They were dangerous. They were potentially dangerous group of people. Probably had good blow. Anyway, I don't know how the rest of your week was.
Oh. That was great. It's
a weird thing, man. It's hot out. Everybody's back out doing everything. You know what I mean? Like we've been talking all this shit about like coronavirus getting towards the end. The Delta variant is blown back up. They're telling people to wear masks. The temperatures are hitting in the hundreds in the Pacific Northwest. Climate change is everywhere now. It's like 112 and shit in Portland right now. They're telling people,
which is insane.
The fucking electricity and shit's breaking down up there. There's all types of the AC controls and everything is just falling apart.
I have a friend that lives up near Bellingham, which is the second largest city, I think, in Washington State, and she doesn't have AC because they don't need. It's like one of those places she really doesn't need AC, and she's frying up there, man. It's like not safe.
It's a 1 in a 1,000 year event, which I don't know if they really. Do they keep temperatures 1,000 years ago, or are they just guessing on some shit?
Yeah,
they're extrapolating, right? They're like it's like 1,000 something probably.
There's no way anybody they didn't know to wash their ass.
I mean, how would you know what the temperature was in Portland 1,000 years ago unless you were an Inuit of some sort, or like an indigenous person, right? Like
Yeah, there you go.
Like, wouldn't no white people? I mean, if there were white people in Portland 1,000 years ago, they ain't telling nobody about it.
And if the Inuit were keeping track of it and had like some kind of sophisticated thing, we have been lied to about them and the sophistication of their culture, and I'm upset about it. I want to know more about these people.
They did get a new name. They got the summertime has gotten its first cool name. Like with the wintertime, they got the polar vortex. Remember when the polar vortex came out? They got Heat Dome. Heat Dome is the new the Heat Dome, which is like.
So it's weird. Am I crazy, or did it kind of pass us by? Because I've heard about it being in the Pacific Northwest, and usually temperatures and weather like that comes from west to east. So I was like, oh man, we're about to get hit with a bunch of 100-degree weathers, and we didn't. But New York is getting 100-degree weather. We're in the 80s right now.
I think we're just getting fucking weather porn fuck up everywhere, right? Like you're in Naperville. There was a goddamn tornado there a week ago.
Dude, there were 3 last week. There was one that touched down and did a lot of damage. There were 2 more that didn't do as much damage within 7 days of that first one.
Well, at least while all this is going on, Exxon is being open about how they're trying to make sure that bills that will help infrastructure and shit like that don't get passed. Did you see where that dude from Exxon got caught on tape?
No, I did not see this.
Oh, dude. I didn't put it in the notes, but there's a dude from Exxon. So people from Greenpeace or some other fucking environmental movement, they went undercover as headhunters. And they got some dude on ExxonMobil on tape talking about how they had all these senators. They had like 10 senators in their pocket, basically. And they use this shit that they throw out as bait to like throw them off of everything else. Like nobody wants to deal with a carbon tax. So they throw some shit out there like carbon tax, and everybody's upset about that. And like, it's wild, man. He was real open-minded about how like, yeah, we just got to shoot down this shit because anything that's regressive or whatever. Yeah, his name is Keith McCoy. Over the Zoom call.
This motherfucker Jerry Maguire himself.
He talked about backdoor agreements and shit where they're like, and what's crazy is the amount of money that they pay Joe Manchin is like $12,000. They give Joe like $12,000, and they get a weekly call with Joe Manchin to discuss like what their agenda is.
And is that $12,000 a year or $12,000 a call?
No, it's not $12,000 a call. No. It's $12,000 like into the campaign or whatever, into the fucking PAC or whatever the fuck it is.
So I wonder if that $12,000. I have to believe it's more than $12,000, maybe 12. That's amazing.
It isn't though, because it doesn't have to be though, because all Joe Manchin needs is $12,000 from like 6 or 7 motherfuckers. Now he's already at 80, 90 grand. You know what I mean? Like he gets $12,000 from Exxon, he gets 30 grand over here, he's got 40 grand over here, maybe another 5 over here. Like it just depends on, like the level of access at some point becomes who's giving me the most grands, right? Like at some point you're like, well, Exxon's giving me 12, but the Justice Democrats or whatever give me 30 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like whatever, just Democrats would do that, but like, whatever the other form of industry that wants his business more, right? Like if the Koch brothers want to roll up with a cool mill, hey man, maybe I'll take $12,000 on the side from Exxon and maybe give him a little bone here or there. But everybody from Kristen Sinema, who at one point I think was a Green Party member, to Chris Coons, to, you know what I mean? Like on down the road. They got like 10 cats in the bag that they just kind of run when they're trying to create issues. And that's how they drive an infrastructure bill from $2+ trillion to $800 billion. Because they because part of what's in that bill is stuff that's against things like that are damaging to an industry like Exxon, that slow down the progression to getting into solar and all this other shit. And so nothing's going to happen. And a week later, everybody will be done talking about this shit. And we'll be somewhere else because that's the way that goes. Nobody ever fucking, there's no punishment.
Yeah, it's horrific. That guy's probably done. Like, he's not going to get a job anywhere.
Yeah,
maybe he'll get a job on MSNBC because they love taking a motherfucker that did some horrible criminal shit, but now he can't get a job because he told on some motherfuckers, so they allow him.
He can't. He came out with a statement.
Michael Cohen on 5 days a week. I hate that.
He came out with a statement. I don't know what his statement I don't remember what his statement exactly was, but in no way was it admitting that Exxon for sure is about that life. Like it was all like, I think, I'm deeply embarrassed by what I said, and some of the stuff was taken out of context, which is like, you're on audio, nigga. Like, what context is there to take it out of other than how you said it? Like, we heard you say this shit.
You the motherfucker was talking. You the one who created the context. I hate when people say that shit. Like, it's one thing if you just had a snippet, motherfucker. I heard the whole statement.
Right.
You were the one creating the context. How the fuck could it be taken out of context?
Yeah, it's one thing if someone poses the question they asked you differently than what they asked you for the answer you got. Right. Like you're in an interview, someone asks you a question, you give them an answer, and then later on they pose your answers to a question that's different than the way they asked it to you. That is one where you get taken out of context. Or when they use like you say a long sentence and they use one bit of it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like when XL does this, but overall that's the only issue I've ever had. He's a great guy. And then they're like, man, Bobby's got a problem when XL does XYZ. And it's like, whoa, I've been taken out of context here, right? When you get the full quote, that was going on. But this dude, the whole conversation is recorded. He is clearly saying, we pay these politicians money so we can get weekly calls or whatever the type of influence we want to tell them about the policies we want to move on. And then they go out and do that shit to get more money. And then nobody gets in trouble because there's so many people doing that is how this plays. If you want a background look into how the shit works and the oligarchies run, like that's how the shit goes. It's all, it's loopholes. And speaking of loopholes, a comedian who has exploited many of them, most of them non-consensually, has been freed from prison. God. Oh man, America's most favorite TV dad, least favorite real dad, Bill Cosby, is free from prison after only 2 years.
Some bullshit.
Yeah, it sounds some bullshit. And the craziest thing to me is the amount of people who are fighting to I struggle so hard with this, man. When people fight to be dumb on purpose, when there's opportunity to actually go and see like why he is out of jail. And the truth is, like, we say it's on some bullshit, but technically, like, I don't want people going to jail on things they shouldn't be going to jail for either. You know what I mean? There's no evidence that what they said he got, that the assurance that he had that he wouldn't get prosecuted. There's no evidence of that existing. Really?
He said it to him. There's no paperwork. Or there's no.
So that's a big deal, right? Like if you just say something to somebody and it's your word versus some strange.
So for all we know, Bill Cosby has $250 million.
Right.
For all we know, he promised this motherfucker a yacht.
Right.
And whatever. And dude said, I told him he wouldn't do it. Right. I have no idea.
Right. Yeah. So the thing is, like, obviously my thing is like with documented paperwork. If you got caught up on some bullshit and they had no way they were going to get you for it, and they tell you, well, listen, man, we ain't going to prosecute you, and then you cop to some of the shit later on, and then they go, oh, now we're going to prosecute you, that is fucked up. I mean,
I agree.
That is if they say now hear me out. If they say we're going to fill out this paperwork that says in the state of Pennsylvania and anywhere in the U.S., we will not prosecute you for XY crime. And then you get into a civil suit about some shit, and you're like, I did some of that shit. Then they're like, oh, now we're going to prosecute you. That is a fucked up deal, right? That is.
I agree, but that's how it happened was.
It doesn't make you innocent, which is the most.
In order to go through with this, he got civil suit first.
Right.
In order to go through with the civil suit, to get to the, meet a civil suit, he agreed to testify. That's what's being said. But again, there's no evidence of it. Like, it's literally, we're taking the dude who defended Trump in the second impeachment horribly. We're taking that guy's word that this happened. There's nothing other than his statement of it. And
honestly, I feel with your yacht comment, I feel you're probably right? Because anybody who's willing to work for Trump at a certain point after
he got a price.
He definitely has a price because Trump can't get regular people to work for him. The only people that want to work with him are guys who are looking to ride a coattail to something else. And so
trash motherfuckers.
From a technical standpoint, like I said, written down, I don't like seeing anybody have to go to jail on bullshit they're not supposed to, even if I think they're guilty. That's just how it is, even at the most heinous shit. But the thing that I struggle with harder is it's one thing to go, I didn't believe he did it anyway, and I'm happy that the technicality got him home. It's another thing to say he's now proven is innocent, because that is not what happened.
Yeah, I think both of those things are fucked up, to be honest with you. But,
sure.
To not believe he did it, because here's the thing. Here's a problem with that. The testimony that they are saying, the testimony that got him convicted, he admitted that he did the shit. Like, there's literally words where they asked, "Did you get Quaaludes to have sex with women?" Yes. Did they know it? Something, blah blah. No, basically, he admits that he was raping bitches.
Correct.
And so, like, he said he did it. He admitted to doing it. This technicality shit, fuck you. If that was your family, if that was somebody in your life, you'd be livid about somebody getting off on a technicality. Just because you like this motherfucker's jokes, don't excuse his horrible fucking behavior.
And it's amazing, too, because, like, I was explaining it. Somebody asked me, like, on Friday, like, how did I get into comedy? Or when did I know I really wanted to do comedy? And my story for wanting to do comedy is very personal. And it's because my dad was not always awesome when I was a kid. And I remember the first time seeing my dad uncontrollably laugh was watching Bill Cosby himself. And that was a thing for me where I was like, oh, this is a way I can make my dad laugh, is by learning how to do this joke thing. And so that's why being a goofball was like part of what I got into doing, because I was like, it makes my dad laugh, like this Cosby guy. And like most people who are probably in their 40s right now, Bill Cosby was a staple of my youth as a kid. As a black kid watching this black family, it was amazing. But like, I like the idea of women not having to be sexually assaulted more. You know what I mean? And the reality of waiting on, pressing charges of coming out and speaking that everybody likes to bring up. There was a period of time in this country, which I don't think people are really familiar with, where it was not possible to rape a black woman. There was no such thing as raping a black woman, because black women were already seen as being Jezebels in society, and therefore were seen as unrapeable because of the quality of people that they were. If you were even going to consider them to be people. And so there's generation after generation of black women before today who's had to live in a world where they knew that if someone decided they wanted to physically assault them, there was no type of thing they could say about it to anybody where anybody would give a fuck. And so why would you? Yeah. And then when you get to a point where it's not only someone who's assigned to do something to you, but it is also one of the most famous comedians, most loved comedians of all time, who is worth $250 some odd million now.
He go buy NBC.
You know what I mean? Like, why? And do what? So you can get slandered for however long before you still get nothing? There's no one's making big monetary gains off of crying rape.
Like,
that is not a...
They doing it for the fame. What fucking fame is there? Like, who do you know?
I don't know any of these
the person
bitches
who get famous off this shit. Who got famous? Who the fuck has like a miniseries because they got raped?
I don't know any of these women. None of them have become anything other than more traumatized probably by what's going on. And it does,
Like assholes who don't even know the person they're defending and taking that person's side over some shit. Like, it's insane.
Well, there's also this issue that, that black people deal with in this country. And it's one of the reasons why, another issue with black women reporting sexual assault on black men is that because of the systemic issues that we have in this country, the idea of protecting black men and the black male image is a big deal in the black community and to black women. And unfortunately, what that results in is situations in which the foreman protecting it is even when that black male assaults you, people still will hold on to that because the last thing they want to do is send another black man to jail on some shit when, in their head, probably oftentimes they go, I'll just deal with it and I'll get over it because that is more important. And it shouldn't have to be. It shouldn't have to be. And, especially at a level like this, because it encourages the next person to be able to do it. You know what I mean? It encourages the next problem to happen and the next person to be able to do it. And so I feel for the people that have had to deal with the situation directly with Cosby. I feel sad and also mad at people like Felicia Rashad, who falls into that generational situation of like probably coming up in a world where you were protecting the black male image and also that black women weren't worth shit in the first place has got an underlying traumatized deal for her, but also mad because how can you be like, at some point you have to be excited for the next generation of people like you. And the newer generation of black women are not hearing that bullshit. Thankfully. Yeah. You know what I mean? Are not putting up with that bullshit as much anymore.
I heard I can't remember the reporter's name, but a reporter was breaking down how the elephant in the room for the last 7 years for Felicia Rashad, Malcolm Jamal Warner, all of the Cosby kids, when they do an interview, with the exception of maybe Lisa Bonet, the elephant in the room was like, they literally would have their publicists tell whoever was interviewing them or talking to them, no Cosby questions.
Yep.
And so for him to get released and then them to frame it as an exoneration when it was in no way an exoneration, it was literally he had better lawyers. His lawyers found a technicality that for whatever reason had validity. I mean, I understand why I have validity. I agree with what you were saying earlier about if he was told, if he was literally told this, I don't understand how he could have been told this and there was no. That seems like something that you would want paperwork for.
I would want somebody to write that down. Yeah,
if you're Bill Cosby, how the fuck did you not get that written down?
Yeah, if you're gonna tell me you're not gonna prosecute me, I'd be like, you better write that down. Homie.
Like this, come on, man. Like that's like the hood motherfuckers know that. Like, wait a second, let me get immunity if I say this. Okay, I want it written down.
Show me the deal. Yeah. Show me the deal.
I'm not talking until it's written on paper, and then they usually get killed right after that. But still. Maybe Cosby thought he was going to get popped if he put it on paper.
Do you think he's done from the public eye if he's fuck
out? No, he's about to go on tour.
Yeah,
I promise you, he's about to go on tour. He was on, I don't know what, because I wasn't looking for it. I just heard somebody say it on some channel that I was watching. I believe he was on like a radio show. He's already done like a radio show.
Would you open for him?
He's gonna be on Joe Rogan.
Would you open for him?
Fuck no.
No.
Fuck no.
No, I would turn that down in a heartbeat. There's nothing better. There is no redemption like that story I told about me getting in wanting like first seeing comedy and being like it's that I want to do that thing. There is no full circle story that is happy by an opportunity that would come to work with him at this point. I say flip flam firm, so he would never ask me. Yeah, that's true. That would never happen. We'd never be asked with the things we say on stage. The thing with it is like, you know, again, being able to like start making these moves now creates a world in where you can start doing other things to stop other guys from doing crazy shit. Like Kyle Massey, who is on the show That's So Raven, he's been charged with for immoral communication with a minor. Kyle Massey's not a child. That's a grown man person.
I want to make this clear. I am not putting this on Raven specifically.
No,
because there are more people involved with that show than just her, the namesake. There's executive producers who've gone from show to show. There's other people, but there's something I feel like in the environment there that I'm not saying is producing this, but this is the second kind of sexual deviant type thing happening with a like longtime cast member working with the Raven crew, and because it was the other dude that I can't think of his name.
I think it happens in Disney related shows more often than you'd think.
Yeah, it did, man. Like here's the thing, I really like
and Nickelodeon too.
Disney, but God, the Disney.
You want to know the problem? You want to know here's what the problem is that Disney and Nickelodeon try and create shows for like younger generations, right? Kids, tweens, young adults, things like that, right? That's what their shows are aimed at, which means the cast of their shows are oftentimes people who are young adults, people who are teenagers, and also the adults on the show are also like in their 20s sometimes. And sometimes these people are on the show from the time they're 11 to the time they're 18 or 19 years old. And the environment for situations like that, where it's not like a school, I mean, already there's situations in school environments where teachers and students fuck around with each other, right? Like,
Yeah.
and for sure they're not hiring a bunch of uggos to work on Disney. It's not like it's a bunch of fucking garbage pail kids who are going in there every day. It's a bunch of like, for that age range, they're the attractive people in that age. They're and talented and like, you know, it is an environment that if there's someone who is struggling with the ability to withhold an attraction to a child, or struggling with the ability to like know when to draw the line between 18 plus is okay and 15 is not okay, or in his case 13 is not, if it's somebody who that is a bad environment, but it's also an environment that probably draws people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And because a lot of those kids can mimic maturity in a fashion where someone was like, that 13-year-old wasn't 13-year-olds. Yes, they were.
They're still 13 years
old.
Yeah. As the father of a 15-year-old, let me tell you, they're still.
They still are. Like,
I'm still going to come for you.
I understand it's a sickness, but yeah, motherfuckers, like, there's some people who don't have the sickness who have bad ideas or morals like that. Like, and they're like, oh yeah, some of those girls are fast. No, they're kids.
Yeah,
they're using what they think. Never mind.
My point is, I think people, especially nowadays, we got all these crazy Q people with the Save the Children type shit, and they look at Hollywood like this demonic child sex ring thing, and I don't think it's as much that as it is the environment that you're in. You're in this fun environment. You're making this shit. You're goofy. The downtime on movies and TV shows, especially when you shoot every day for some of these shows, is enormous. And so you're in groups where you're hanging out with people of different ages. And that doesn't make it more appropriate. It just makes the opportunity for inappropriate things to happen probably a lot more likely than they would in almost any other. Because when you're a kid, you get out of school, you don't go hang out with age groups that aren't really your own, but in fun, cool environments where you're all having a good time and hanging out and bullshitting. And you're also making so much money and free to do whatever the fuck you want. Nobody can really tell you no. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a 14-year-old star on Disney and you want to go hang out with your 19-year-old co-star, who the fuck is telling you no? Who? Yeah. Who's telling you no? Your stage mom, who is only living off of the money you're letting her have? Like, for sure she's letting you go, right? Like, that's how. And so it's not that,
especially because letting you go doesn't, not only is letting you go like keep you happy, but it's also an opportunity for you guys to be seen out hanging out.
Oh, you're gonna go hang with the 19-year-old who's already done 2 movies with Tom Cruise? Yeah, sure, go hang out. I'm sure it'll be fine.
It's good for your career.
I mean, and that doesn't, what it does point at is that there could be better guardrails in some of those scenarios and how that all works, but it doesn't necessarily mean that Disney itself is satanic. You know what I mean? That's my difference. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm trying to get to, is that there is a difference between like seeing a problem and like why that may happen, and then acting like the corporation is trying to foster a problem.
Oh yeah. I totally agree with you. I tell you, because you mentioned Nickelodeon too. I just think it's a young high. I can, like, this isn't nearly anything that crazy, but I can just remember being at an audition where there was I can't remember if it was like a family picnic thing, but there was a scene that had like a teenager kid in it, and this teenage kid that I was sitting next to, we were running lines together, and I was like looking at my paper, not paying attention, and I was talking to dude like he was a fucking adult. And I had to like look up, and because he's like talking about his agency and like how he hates these cattle calls and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, dude. And I went out and got drunk last night, blah, blah. And I realized I'm talking to like a 14-year-old. Like, I just totally forgot because we were reading lines and I wasn't paying attention. And he was like kind of going with it, like, like it was a very weird scenario.
It's like that scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where DiCaprio's character is sitting there. I think it's DiCaprio's character sitting there talking to a kid. On a movie set.
Oh, yeah, and she
breaks him down. He's
never seen this shit.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, that is, you could get away from that, I guess, by not putting kids in this shit, but I don't think you have to do that to be able to get a solution to that problem. You just have to create some better guardrails in regards to who is alone with each other at what times and how you allow that to happen and who's chaperoned and how that works. Like, you got to get a little more conservative in how that whole shit goes down without watering down the situation, I think you make that happen. There's some other shit in entertainment where even some white people are getting in trouble for doing some wild ass sex culty type shit. Allison Mack got sentenced to 3 years in prison. The former Smallville chick, she was in that NXIVM thing, Nexum or whatever the hell it was called.
Yeah.
She was on Smallville. She's 38 years old right now. She was one of the highest ranking members of the cult. They did a bunch of, I mean, it's like all the cults. That's sex slavery. They were branding people at one point. She's obviously, this has been going on for a while. I think it was like 2019 or something where she first got charged or convicted.
There's a documentary, like an HBO documentary about them, right?
Yeah, she pleaded guilty in 2019 and then finally got sentenced on some shit. So she's had some time to kind of prove that she's that she's trying to be better. So she's doing 3 years in jail. She's going to pay a $20,000 fine and do 1,000 hours of community service, which seems light for all the crazy. 1,000 hours is it? That seems like more. Yeah, they had recommended 14 to 17 and a half years, which,
oh, wow.
You know, I feel like had she been, I don't know if Cal Massey's going to get, will Cal Massey get 3 years if they convict him? I don't mean to make it racial, but I feel like Allison Mack might be getting a deal out of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
maybe she turned evidence. Maybe she, ratted people out.
it's some wild ass shit, man. The other white dude who's dealing with some trouble right now, James Franco. Remember James Franco? He was like a super fun guy in a bunch of movies, and he was a fun dude to see smoke weed and made a bunch of cool shit. Settled a lawsuit for $2.2 million. That's a lot of money to be putting out if you think you're right. That's probably it's way more money than you should pay out because you also had to pay an attorney, which, you know what I mean? Like, you paid $2.2 million plus an attorney. Basically, it was alleging that he had intimidated students at an acting and film school he founded. So he started. This is the problem. Like, the problem with some people is they get too much money, and then they start a school, and then they start fucking with the kids in the school, and that's not going to work. That's going to get you a $2.2 million settlement, bare minimum, usually every time.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
dude. He has taken a precipitous fall. Like, there was an interview with Seth Rogen where they were like, will you work with him again? And he basically was like, I don't see us working together anytime in the near future. Yeah, like that. Like, Seth Rogen doesn't want to fuck with him no more. That was his dog, man.
Oh yeah,
it's like that's a fall.
And it sucks that stuff is happening, but this is also a place where, in the past, like guys like Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis are marrying like 13-year-old cousins and shit, and everybody's just like, well, I don't know, that's the way shit goes down, Like, yeah. I remember being in the 80s and you'd be somewhere and like the concept of like the right age or like, the slightly underage person was not nearly as much of a thing as it is today. Right? Yeah. Like, and nowadays, the younger generation is like, listen, man, if you're in your 40s, even a chick who's 21 isn't fully developed enough yet to be the person you're chicking it with necessarily. And so, like, there's been an evolution with a lot of that shit, Dude,
I listened to old school hip hop. Cool J has a song called Dear Yvette, and I'm listening to it, and Yvette's in high school. And not Deary, I can't remember. It might differ. It doesn't matter what the song. He has a line where he's singing about picking up a girl in high school. And I like Googled when that song came out and how old he was when he said that. And he was like 23 or 24. And he was talking about a 17-year-old girl. And it was a hit song. And I was like, God damn. That was like late 80s.
Let's hope he wrote that shit a few years earlier and just couldn't get it put out until then.
Yeah.
Like, I wrote this at 19. She was 17. Okay, it just took 4 years for the label to let this motherfucker come out. That's all. Speaking about being let out, Britney Spears has been fighting for her conservatorship. This is a grown woman who basically shaved her head and ran at paparazzi one time, and then all of a sudden they decided she could never go outside without a guardian again. It was, the thing that happened, there are people who are obviously younger who are more in tune with that what's going on, but she's either an elder millennial or like the tail end of Gen X. And so I got to see a lot of Britney when she was first blowing up, you know what I mean? Like she was doing her whole thing, but this goes back to the Disney thing, right? Because she was a Disney kid, and it was.
There's also
her virginity was a very big deal when she was like coming up, and so And there's
There was
also
the whole thing where her and Justin Timberlake were lying about that they weren't fucking around.
yeah. And if you listen to her voice now, you know, there's a thing in psychology about grown adults who have like a baby girl kind of a voice, and that they're oftentimes a victim of some type of a trauma, be it sexual or something close to that. And I think that constant infantilizing of Britney Spears when, you know, she couldn't be open about having sex because of a dumb fucking image, that has to wear on somebody's mental state for after a while, right? Like you're sitting there trying, like when everybody, I mean, dude, they used to just straight up be like, "Are you still a virgin, Britney?" Like, what the fuck are you talking? And she's like, she's like 18 years old, man. Like, what the fuck are just grown adults with cameras going off like crazy, asking her if she's still a virgin?
Yeah, and there's a little I don't 100% know if this is a complete accurate backstory, but the guy who's her baby daddy dated a black woman from the show Moesha. She's the girl who played Moesha's best friend. And there is a story that suggests that the two of them plotted to get, he was a dancer for Britney. He knew Britney dug her.
Kevin Federline, right?
Federline, yeah. Federline plotted with something Jackson, Shaw Jackson, plotted with her to pull Federline, fuck Britney, get her pregnant, and then take the kids and get, you know, alimony basically, and go back to Shaw. And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened.
Yep.
When he left her, he went back. He went back to Shaw, and that is right around when that happened. Is when Britney had her infamous breakdown. I happen to be living in LA. That has nothing to do with the story, other than the fact that
it's louder there when that's going on, though. You know what I mean? Like when you're in LA and people in LA are doing wild ass shit, it is like. It's the local, like, you know, you're in Chicago and some shit happens in Celebrity. That's some shit that's like after the second break before the weather, right? Like The
Kanye story is right before the weather.
But that's local news in LA. That should happen down the street at a restaurant. You know what I mean? Like that's
the first month I lived in LA. This is 2000. In 2005, sometime 2005, I can't remember, but. Who was Paris Hilton's best friend? Lionel Richie's kid.
Nicole Richie.
Nicole Richie got arrested for a DUI. She was going the wrong way down the highway.
I remember that.
And that shit was the entire morning news in LA. Like they weren't talking about anything, whatever the fuck. We were at war at the time.
Dude, when Michael Jackson died, the city shut down. You couldn't get anywhere. It was traffic everywhere. Anywhere near Neverland, you were not getting. You couldn't get near it for days. But anyway, with Britney, she's been in this conservatorship that her dad has been running. They forced her to put in an IUD, which sounds insane to me. You know, she's 39 now. She's worth $60-70 million or some shit. She can't spend money, go out anywhere. She can't do shit. She's been stuck in her crib.
She can't have a relationship. She can't have a kid.
She can't have a kid, you know?
I can't believe that this show is at a point where the both of us are basically defending or fighting for Britney Spears. This is a turn I did not see happening.
I mean, the idea of me defending the idea of me like defending the idea of another white lady having a kid seems insane at all. But you know what I mean? That's usually not the tact I take. But also, like, I can spend whatever money I got any way I want, and nobody stopped me from doing shit. This lady's got millions and millions of dollars. Why can't she fucking go get a cheeseburger when she fucking wants a cheeseburger? That shit is insane to me.
Because they're even, like, okay, if she is so incapable of taking care of herself, why the fuck do they still have her working?
Right.
Like, they still have her, like, this, she should be in therapy and getting help, and she shouldn't be on stage. If
you're mentally unwell, you should not be performing to sold out
she's
theaters.
Mentally unwell, but she can go out there and do 7 shows, however many shows a night in Vegas and shit, and keep making this money for all these people, but she can't control how she spends it.
That's just crazy.
Well enough to do the dance, but not the actual live a life. That is so gross, man.
That's crazy.
It's insane that I'm this passionate about it, but I just couldn't imagine it, man.
I want to keep this. I want to keep this next thing short because Meghan McCain, because she's just such a joke. But and I want to get into some of this Trump shit before we get to the last of our day. Meghan McCain is leaving The View. She is my favorite person to watch get dunked on social media after she is on TV talking some bullshit. What I'm going to miss the most is watching Whoopi just destroy her before they go to commercial break. You know, I always like Whoopi Goldberg. I've always been cool. She's always been fine with me. I ain't got no Whoopi Goldberg issues. But her status is elevated so much higher in her destruction of Meghan McCain over these last 4 years or whatever. It is crazy. I will miss the idea of seeing whatever the fuck Meghan McCain's hairstylist is doing to her hair every day. If you look at shots of Meghan McCain on The View, it looks like she was trying to like play some diversity ploy and got herself like a black hairstylist, and the black hairstylist was like, I'm gonna fuck you up, bitch. Like, her hair is all over the place, dude. Oh yeah, her shit is wild, man. She's had some shit where it's just like, and maybe she's just trying to take away from the crazy ass shit that's gonna pour out of her mouth when she's talking. But
wow, I did not notice this shit, man.
Yeah, her hair is like it's on one, boy. She's always got some shit.
Like, I see clips of her. I don't watch the show, but I see clips of them on Twitter of her getting dunked on by Whoopi.
Where's that 3-piece on the second row? Yeah, hit me that one. Let me see that shit. Dude, bro, come on now. Come on. You want to talk about some cultural appropriation? This chick, she's appropriated 3 different cultures all in that same.
Appropriating white culture.
So the queen of I don't know where she's gonna go now. She may end up on MSNBC. Honestly,
nah, man, she's going to Fox Space for her.
Yeah. It's a shame too because her dad, although I didn't agree with a lot of his shit, at least he was a guy who had some sense of reasonableness to him.
Who has some integrity, man. Like, he was the last dude. Like, that motherfucker died.
Oh man, Tim Dillon doing Meghan McCain.
Party just said, "Hey, fuck it, we done."
Yeah, and speaking of which, they're staying with the doneness. The Trump Organization and Alan Weisselberg have been charged in a 15-year tax scheme in which they have basically used like companies they created as shells to be able to avoid paying taxes by paying out things into those companies, including cars, residences for like Weisselberg's kid while he worked at the Trump skating rink and shit. And in all these ways, they claim them as like tax losses for these businesses so they could avoid paying taxes and sometimes get tax refunds. So, 15 years, I think it was $1.7 million they hoarded to avoid paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. And the wild thing about this is one, this is usually not something that comes first. This comes down the line in an investigation. And two, making charges like this instead of fines usually means that it's a part of a bigger thing, which means that, like, you know, Weisselberg is 73 years old. He ain't want to go to jail either, but
he's trying to go. So I heard somebody break it down something like this. Basically, they were trying to get Weisselberg to flip without any charges, and he wouldn't. And they were like, "Okay, we're gonna slap your ass with these charges first, just to let you know this, because this, and those are probably very, very easy to prove charges.
Yep,
that they don't need a lot of witness testimony.
Right, here are the obvious ones that you don't fucked up with,
because like they kept emphasizing this is an ongoing investigation. And so that means that they know that there's more charges coming. You don't keep investigating if you think you got everything.
I mean, they want Donald Trump. If you're digging in the Trump Organization, and here's the thing, you don't even have to want Donald Trump. This shit is set up so goofy. Like, I was listening to something between these lawyers where they were talking about how, and to some extent, anybody who has a business is always trying, throw a business lunch on there. If they went after everybody who bought a car through their business and claimed it as a loss or whatever, like the courts would never end dealing with people on that shit, right? It would never end. So like to be able to have to be in a situation where you got motherfuckers who are talking about going to jail over the tax fraud, your shit has to be like straight up out in the open, criminal gangster, we shot this nigga on 71st Street type shit. Like that's the level of like openly flaunting any sense of tax law that they were. It makes me want to do like small time tax fraud actually. You know what I mean? Like it makes me want to be like, why don't we just fucking throw a couple things? Like
in just these 15 charges, they have Weisselberg. I think it's $1.7 million in benefits that he received that he didn't. Not only did he not report, he also obviously didn't pay taxes on any of it. And that's enough to send your ass to jail for. That's Wesley Snipes did some time for around some money around that area. So
yeah.
I mean, he ain't Wesley. Actually, no, I don't know. Anyway, my point is this: there's more there because one of the things that people said was basically if Weisselberg had like $1.7 million in benefits over this time frame. What the fuck was
what Jared get at the
Vanka get? What was Jared get? What's Vanka get? What was
and that's the thing is
Don and Eric getting?
This is a springboard, right? They're going out. I mean, what's always the move when you're going after the bad guy? You get the fucking accountant, right? You get the guy who runs the money. Once you get the guy who runs the money, you can see how all the money is made. And this is a criminal I want to be clear. The Trump organization is a criminal organization. They just did shit in businesses that look like they're legitimate, but money laundering is illegal. I don't care just because you have a thing that says we're a real estate company. If you're using it to launder money, you're a crime organization. It doesn't really you can call it anything you want.
Yeah, I have evolved over the years on the level of intelligence that Trump has, and I believe he is a brilliant criminal who made a mistake of winning a presidency.
Yep.
If he had not won the presidency, none of this shit would ever been caught. But the reason why I say he's a brilliant criminal, I know a lot of people who don't like him will grimace at calling him brilliant. But this motherfucker bankrupt 4 casinos. You can't bankrupt 4 casinos unless you're Trump.
Well, you can't bankrupt. You can't bankrupt 4 casinos and still get to come back and be a millionaire again and be like famous. Yeah. Like you don't get to be famous again after that unless you got some shit going on. And it's definitely the presidency that has caused this problem because the people who they get after are the ones who are out in the open. Speaking of out in the open, the January 6th commission has been set. They added Liz Cheney to the group. This was the commission that they tried to do in a bipartisan way. Because, the people on the left are like, hey, a bunch of Trump people came and stormed the Capitol. And the people on the right were like, I don't know, maybe it was Antifa, but also we don't want to really find out whether it was Antifa. And so they would not vote to even investigate what happened. And so McCarthy came out and said that any Republican that joined onto this committee was going to be stripped of their committees. And so they added Liz Cheney, who is definitely not on any committees anymore in the Republican Party, so it all worked out okay. But the real thing about this is that when they really get down to who's behind this could actually create a problem for Trump in 2024. Because as they unveil who is actually involved in this and where it comes from, and the idea with that it would be angering to the people who already were not giant Trump fans or thought there were issues and further push people to the brink when they got to this part. And so that's a thing that could potentially happen out of this. But you got to get down to the bottom of what happened. It's the only way we're ever going to move forward on what's going on there.
Yeah. Here's the thing. The fact that this is the shit that's going to end up being the push or the pull, because at some point, the motherfuckers that are still holding on, we either got to break their trance or there's going to be some type of conflict. I don't want to use the word war. There's going to be we can't have 2 realities. We can't have a whole group of people believing that January 6th didn't happen or that it's or that Trump is supposed to be president and still actively part of the political process.
Right. There are still people that believe that Trump is going to be president by August.
Yeah.
Like by the time Halloween rolls around, Trump will be back in here handing out candy and goodies on the White House lawn. That's still a thing that's going on. You know what I mean?
Meanwhile, Trump is planning a motherfucking tour.
Right. Yeah. He's just grifting them. He's grifting them onto this new social media app. He has a new app called Getter. This is an app that was actually launched by Jason Miller, who, if you don't know, Jason Miller was an advisor to Trump, but he's also a guy who attempted to slip a mistress of his a Plan B pill after he cheated on his wife. So real upstanding dude that we're talking about. He launched this thing, Getter. The people who it's supposed to be his, bastion of free speech. There are a bunch of QAnon members who are on there who are upset because they're being mocked by people, and there's a lot of porn and bad words and stuff on there, which, You can't have it both ways. I don't know how to help you out with this one. You can't claim that you're all about free speech and then get mad when people are calling you a major fucking idiot for believing that Trump is going to be back in the presidency in a couple of months. You know what I mean? Like, there's just no way around that.
People don't. There is a problem with accountability, and people wanting with the willingness to accept it, and especially on that side, they can't admit that they lost. They can't admit that they fucked up January 6th. They can't admit that they were stupid for believing the fucking QAnon shit. Like, the QAnon story wasn't that fucking compelling. It breaks down pretty quick right off the bat. You 2-3 questions in, and the whole fucking thing folds. and so you bought that shit to the point where you still believe it now. That's nobody's fault but your own. Yeah,
they've used that to launch a bunch of other things, though, and that's the thing with them is that, like, the goal is to create toxicity, right? The goal is to create toxicity, and by fighting about this vote shit, they push for this vote recount that's going on in Arizona, which has led to a Supreme Court ruling over voting restrictions that they've launched in Arizona. And the Supreme Court, of course, by a vote of 6-3, is going to go ahead and, back all these voting restrictions that they have going on there. So, they're using these phrases, these terms, these events to try and create a level of distrust or dislike or problems that are big enough that lead to actual issues, right?
Yeah.
That's why there's people who are oath keepers who are probably now running for seats because they figured out there are ways to get into the levels of power that are getting there.
That is something that they are very, very active. Did you just say it off the top of your head, or had you seen something about that?
I think I saw something where they're like, I think there's QAnon members who are running for Congress for sure.
I just heard an NPR story recently talking about how a lot of them, like a guy was a big part of the Oath Keepers, and he stepped aside, not because he disagreed with the Oath Keepers, but because he thought it wasn't politically good to be associated with them.
Yeah.
But did not disavow anything at all about them. Just said that he had the tattoo, whatever their special tattoo is. It's something with a rooster, which I took offense to.
Right.
And all that. But anyway, my point is this. That's exactly what they're doing. It's the white supremacy plan that started. They did that shit with the police years ago with police and other social medias. The whole thing we talked about on the show before when they were doing the daytime talk shows, and everybody thought that they were being exposing these white supremacists, and the white supremacists were using that shit as recruiting tools so that they were out there. So these motherfuckers are clever. They're rat bastards.
Yeah, it's a problem, and I think the problem that the left has is they're very slow to catch up on what the actual move is that's happening. And we're dealing with it now with critical race theory. The concept of what critical race theory is, and the way that Chris Rufo put it out on Fox News when he first talked about it was completely different.
Rufo theory.
Yeah. And so and Chris Rufo has gone on to say, and this was the thing that really hit me. So Chris Rufo came out and he was basically said in a tweet at one point, like, we've accomplished the goal, which is to put this name out here, make it look bad and make it look toxic so that we have a place to stand on.
It's the boogeyman.
It doesn't even matter what is fucking in it, which is how I felt about defund the police, right? Like when people go, well, I just don't like the slogan. Yeah, that's because for months on end, these guys have been making up what the fuck it means. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's not this, I feel like the arguments that we used to have over defund the police could be the same arguments that we could have with somebody like over critical race theory. We're just maybe they just got to call it something better than critical race theory and it would be okay. Well, that's not the issue. They'll take any name. Whatever you want to, you call it the boo-boo doo-doo theory, and they will take that name and they will make it more toxic than fecal matter.
I have a theory why they chose critical race theory and why they're going this tactic. And it's the next thing we have on. I'm not trying to jump topics, but they're tied together. The UN saying racism, reparations for racism is legit. There at the end of last year, towards when the election was happening, there was a movement, a lot of data, a lot of conversation people talking about reparations as being legit, as being viable.
Yeah.
If you look at polls, last year, there were people, it was going, I think it went above 50%. I can't remember what the number was, but I believe it was well above 50% at one point of people saying that reparations seemed like legit. And that has taken a sharp turn.
They passed a bill to give money to farmers that they've had to, that they pushed off on. You know what I mean? They've held that bill up. People are watching their statues come down. You know, like
public sentiment. What they did is they started telling, like we talked about last week's show, they started telling people that crime was going up. Which, by the way, to say crime is up over last year when the entire country was on quarantine, of course crime is up. You couldn't leave your fucking house last year. Like, nobody could leave the house last year. Nothing happened.
Crime is actually down. It's homicides that are up. They're focusing on one section of a thing that is as bad as it is, does not mean that everybody is worse or that we need more of something.
But
right?
it's a trigger. It's a trigger. There are some people who just it's subconscious. It's not something that they focus on, but subconscious. The idea, the fear of being unsafe is so strong in them that I don't even know if it's fear, but the safety is a prime directive.
To understand what it is that it's required, like if you're somebody who, what's being asked of people when it comes to critical race theory is to look at where America came from in a more true fashion that requires you understanding that, like, the way you were taught about America being this land of meritocracy and everybody gets an equal shot and has had an equal shot, and the idea that, you know, slavery was a bad thing, but it was an ill of the past, and that racism was an ill of the past, like all that shit. It's requiring you to look at it like you were taught some things that were incorrect. And hold on, and what white people are saying is we don't want to do that.
Well, Bobby, here's the thing, though. I like that you just went through this whole explanation and all that stuff, but we are OGs. This shit is new. But this shit was taught. As a matter of fact, the only thing they ever taught in fucking in schools that weren't black already about black people was fucking slavery. That was the only thing they taught.
Yeah, like the fight against the indoctrination. The fight that I'm hearing with all these white people who are like, we don't want our kids indoctrinated. I'd sit there and I go, what do you think we've been doing this whole time but indoctrinating our kids? Like my whole concept of how Thanksgiving went down is definitely not what the fuck happened. Okay, like I definitely got the wrong story on how Thanksgiving worked.
I'm saying Roots, 12 Years a Slave, actual in class, like the joke,
right?
The stereotype joke it has been is that the only thing they ever talk about is Martin Luther King and slavery,
right?
During Black History Month. So now all of a sudden the shit that we've been doing this entire time is somehow like here's the thing.
No, they don't mind the fact that they understand that it happened, but they want to make it like that's why that there's a reason why they show pictures of Martin Luther King in black and white, even though pictures were colored by then.
Yeah.
And it's because they want you to think it was a long time ago. That's why they make the white dudes in those movies talk with an accent. Even the white dudes in old slave movies talk with accents because they don't want you to affiliate them white people from the white dude you know down the street from your house.
That's not us.
Right. That's some other shit. That's some other shit. Getting onto some other shit now. Getting into some shit where some black people are still being held back. Sha'Carri Richardson, who is the sports star, the track star, who dazzled at the 100-meter dash. We talked about her last week on the show. She has been suspended for 30 days for testing positive for smoking marijuana in a state in which it is legal to smoke marijuana, which...
right after her mom died.
Right, her mom died. She got high, which is what I would recommend if a parent dies.
Me too.
You know, among a lot of other things, but that is definitely a thing where I'd be like, sure, that is probably not the worst thing you could do after your parent dies. Yeah. And, you know, the tough part about this is that, unfortunately, the rules of how the Olympic situation works is how it's not different. They didn't, you know what I mean? Like, on the sad part of it, it's, you know, the rules are there. On the reality part of it, as a proponent of weed, like, to be honest with you, if I smoke weed and I can beat somebody in a foot race who didn't smoke weed, I feel like I should get extra rewards. You know what I mean? Like, you should give me more shit if I do that, you know?
We're showing the thing now. So she took the the different combinations of what the fucking penalty could be are so absurd. The main penalty, if she did nothing, if she just was like, yeah, I like weed, nigga, suck my dick.
Right.
It's 4 years.
Right.
If she did like some other plea, it was 3 months. It went from 4 years to 3 months to 30 days. Now, I thought I saw something, and I could be wrong because I didn't have time to look it up. We were setting up for the show. But I thought I saw something that said if she took the 30-day one, she would be done with her suspension in time to still run in the Olympics.
She could run the relay. So she can probably do the 4x100. I think it's a 4x100 relay she's qualified for. And
but will the 100 be over already by then?
So she can't compete in the 100 because that's the one. I think she tested positive for that. And she was just added to the relay team. She didn't race her way in. I think she was just added to the relay team. And so because she won the 100-yard dash while on a positive test, she's stripped of that victory, which means she doesn't get to go.
Oh, so it means she doesn't qualify.
It's not like she's suspended over the time when the race is going on. She's not the winner anymore. They took the victory away from her.
Ah, that's bananas. Yeah, I agree with your previous statement, son. I was high and I did that to you. I was high and I set the world record.
We talked about how she ran down the back stretch of the motherfucker pointing at the fucking thing and still blew the world record away.
Dude, can you imagine how high she might have been right then? Because, imagine you're setting the world record in the middle of doing it and you was just like, oh, look at this shit. And she's still going.
So this is the part that is actually the most upsetting thing about it. She wasn't high when she ran the race.
I know.
That's how, the thing about weed is, if she had drank alcohol 2 days before the race and went and ran the race, she wouldn't be drunk. The same way if she smoked weed 2 days before a race and ran the race, she wouldn't be high. She has weed in her system, but it's not doing anything that's affecting her system in a positive or even negative way at that point. It is working, especially probably the small amount that she had. It's probably working her way out of the system. Because I heard somebody who was commenting what somebody from the Olympic Committee said, and they're like, if someone is snowboarding and they're high, but you don't get high. Well, you do get high and go snowboard, but generally, you don't get high and then go compete in the event. You may have been high 2 or 3 days ago, but that is the problem with some of these positive tests. If you're talking about steroids, yes, steroids circulating through your system is a big deal. But also the fucking East Germans for fucking Olympics after Olympics were sending out some of the strongest looking women I have ever seen on the goddamn planet to go lift weights against some of these niggas, okay?
A whole bunch of ogres.
How is it that this lady took a puff or two of some weed and can't run the 100-meter dash, and y'all were putting out world-class bodybuilding women dudes to go fucking lift weights in the Olympics for 2 decades? East Berlin was putting out all types of crazy motherfuckers. You know what I mean? This lady hit a little bit of weed and it was a wrap.
I'm going to go and I'm going to fill in for Rob. Shout out, Rob.
Rob loves shout-outs.
I'm about to go Hotep moment. It's because the black women were dominated by land, by air, by sea. I don't know if you saw that meme, but it was her, the sister from the gymnastics squad, whose name is slipping me right now because of the weed.
Right.
And also the sister that's a swimmer.
Yep.
And saying that black women were going to dominate the land. And there was too much swagger going on, so they had
to slow it down a little bit.
They had to take one of them out, and it's some bullshit. I'm upset about it.
What's not slowing down is the payment to college athletes that's going to start happening here. They're getting off They're getting off to a quick start to it. Florida State quarterback Mackenzie Milton acts swiftly to capitalize on the name and license, will enter the NFT market. He is a quarterback at Florida State. He actually started a company with Miami quarterback Derek King. They're co-founders of the name and license-based company Dreamfield. They started shortly after midnight on Thursday when college athletes were allowed to do so. Dreamfield is designed to set up paid appearances and other income-making opportunities for college athletes. So they started. I mean, this is what the future is going to be. There's already a guy out of I think he's a quarterback at Iowa or something like that who's got like a $10,000 speaking fee or something. But good for them, man.
Yeah.
Not only.
By the way, Dabo Sweeney quit, nigga.
Yeah.
You said you gonna quit when they say you pay. Quit, nigga. Nobody get the fuck out of there. Go try to get a job where motherfuckers make money and they ain't gotta listen to you because they ain't got their own shit.
Dabo Sweeney's made something like $3 to $7 million a year for the last 10 years. And he's talking about he's going to quit.
His last two contracts is like $10 million a year. Like the last two seasons are like $9 million a year each season.
Like, here's the thing is, like, he's still going to out-earn all of his players. Nobody on his team is going to make $10 million in a year playing quarterback at Clemson or wherever the fuck he's at. That's just, you know what I mean? Like, they make
not right now.
They might make a couple, but like, you know, okay, you sign up, you're a star at Clemson, it's your junior year, you got some NFT shit going on, you got some name and license shit going on, you may be making you're making a good 6 figures maybe off of that, maybe even more, you know, maybe making a cool $1 million or two.
No. Hey, Bobby, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Cut me off.
Yeah, you're shooting way too low.
Am I too low?
Master P's son, who's not even that good of a player, got a $2 million contract today.
Nice. I'm for it.
Fuck, and he's not even that good.
Listen,
he's got a big name.
Well, that is the fear, is that there's going to be people who are really like, you know, show ponies that don't have the talent that are going to come in and get a deal. But who gives a fuck? Who gives a like? Here's the thing, though. If you make an outside deal, Clemson still ain't got to play your ass if you ain't good. You know what I mean? Like, if you like, hear me out. If you are the third string guy on the Bulls, but you sign a $15 million Nike deal, Nike cannot make the Bulls play you more just because you sign. Yeah. That's Nike's fault. The same way if you are a good running back at the University of Georgia and you can sign a deal with EA Sports to be on the cover of their video game, EA cannot get Georgia to pay you, get Georgia to play you more. So you still got to be a good athlete to earn the continued value that goes on. Otherwise, that shit will be there quick and gone.
Yeah, and I think that this is going to make sports better in that as a player, players are vulnerable to outside forces, man. I was fortunate, even though I had scholarships, I was never like broke. I always had, my mom used to deposit money in my account. I could get food if I needed food or whatever. But there's a lot of players who don't have like I would even say more than half of players who don't have that situation of multiple races, not just black players. Yeah. Players of all races that have situations where, because it's not about race really. The best athletes are always broke. Like, it's not a lot of rich motherfuckers that came into, unless their dad was an athlete, or dad was a star athlete. There's not a lot of rich motherfuckers that just that can ball.
Right.
There's a lot of motherfuckers that ball come from poor situations, and I met a lot of white dudes. Anyway, my point is this: they need that they're vulnerable to people who can manipulate them, who can point shave or just be bad influences and keep them from doing the shit they're supposed to do. Now that they are a commodity and they can actually monetize themselves, they can have an agent or somebody that's managing them and making sure that they are doing the right thing. We are going to start seeing college ball players being more responsible, because
also being good will help, right? Like being a good, like you want to win, you're going to want to win. Got to keep that money coming in,
man. Like there's going to be a whole generation of players that understand money before they even, and
the potential for losing it, because if you fuck up and you do something illegal or you assault somebody, that money is going to go away real quick in the legal fees.
Yeah, I think this minimizes. Okay, before you beat somebody up, in your mind, maybe you think, coach might get mad at me and make me run or something like that, or nothing's going to happen to me. But if you know you're going to lose your sponsorship, yeah.
No, we ain't getting in trouble, dog. I'm going home.
I'm not getting, get the fuck out of here. Like,
speaking of somebody who needs to lose their sponsorship, the Washington football team, formerly the racial slur, the racial slur football team, they've been fined $10 million by the NFL. They investigated the team's workplace culture, which, surprise, surprise, a team that just realized that they were using a racial slur as their nickname a year ago, may have had a bad work culture inside their front office. They were charged with things like, let's see, some of their training that they're going to get is going to deal with workplace conduct. They're going to cover topics such as bullying, diversity and inclusion, LGBTQ plus issues, microaggression, and unconscious bias. So you can probably guess that's where the problems lie for the whole for the workplace culture.
I don't know if it's just that NFL owners are all just a old bunch of rich white motherfuckers.
That's pretty accurate.
There's one non-white dude. I'm not sure what his ethnicity is, but anyway, my point is saying is I don't understand how the dude that owns the Washington Redskins hasn't been forced to sell.
Because that's not how the NFL works. That's how the NBA works.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of there's a bunch of racist white dudes in the NFL.
Major League Baseball is owned by a bunch of old white guys, and they made Marge shots sell years ago.
Baseball, I mean, right. Both of those leagues are both the NBA and Major League Baseball are far more diverse and international on all levels than football is. Yeah. Football is some good old boy shit. I mean, I love football.
I mean, I love black players, but at the top.
No. I mean, I love football for the sport, but when you look at the cross section of like the fandom who really has the money to be in the stadium every week, and who they, the pickup trucks they ride in to get there, and the fucking ideas they have in their head about the players when it really comes down to it, like they're fucking, show horses to go out there and prance around for them. And you look at the ownership where there's not a lot of black people in executive positions in the NFL, because the way you get to executive positions is by getting into coaching. The way you get into executive positions is by getting into coaching positions, getting into front office positions, which you can oftentimes only do if you're playing in the heady positions in the game, like quarterback, which they have just recently started to let people do, which means it'll be another decade or two before you really start seeing that breakthrough. So that's the problem you have in the NFL, is that, like, despite what looks like a very diverse league, it's not in the places that it matters the most. The last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here, the UFO report is out. That came out I think it was after our show came out last week. It's a really interesting report because they don't say there's not aliens. They say that there's 144 observations that they have, almost all from U.S. Navy personnel. And out of those 144, there are 143 where they just don't know what the fuck's going on. Which is all but one. They had one time that they were like, all right, this one we got. But the other 143 is something. It's something more than... Now, we've only been doing this flying shit for a little while, right? Like, there was a meme that came out the other day that said the Chariot came out in 2000 BC, and for 3,800 years, it was the fastest mode of transportation on the planet until trains came along, right? And then from trains to going to outer space was like 150 years. It was like 100 years from trains to flying, and then 60 years from flying to outer space, to the moon. We were the moon in 60 years after flying. And so, it's possible that in our time in the air, there may be some weird phenomena of light that we may not know about that happens, that tricks radar or something that we may not just figured out yet, because we're still kind of new at this whole being up in the air all the time shit. But we've also been in the air a lot to not have figured out that shit yet.
Yeah. I mean, that shit just doesn't fit physics. The only thing that makes sense is, hey, do you remember last year for Biden's inauguration, he had those drone fireworks?
Yeah.
It's weird to me that nobody is freaked out about those fucking drone fireworks, man. Like that shit was.
So I'd be with you, but one of the ships that they were talking about in these videos was like, they said it was the size of like a 747 or something was moving like that.
But what
insane
if it was,
under the water.
Now here's the thing:
you can't make a drone do that. Like,
not drones. What if you had a swarm of drones that with light and stealth technology?
Who had it?
Even the U.S. military, because here's the thing: if you think about how like those drone fireworks work, it's basically like
the Navy are the ones. The Navy are the ones reporting the issues. If the Navy, here's the thing: if the Navy goes to the government and goes, "There's some shit going on," and the government's like, "Yeah, we got some shit going on. Don't put that shit out." They ain't putting that shit out. And if it was, if China or Russia had that type of technology, they'd have showed your ass already, because those videos are 17 years old. If they had that technology, they'd already be running shit.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. I thought the shit was more recent.
It's 2004. That shit was moved. So the dude pulls up in a fucking fighter jet the thing he's looking at mocks his movement as he's fucking dipping and dodging around, and then the thing just zoots out of there with no propulsion of any way, just bones the fuck out. No, just like, you know what I mean? Like, if China could do that, China would already be running this motherfucker. That's what would be going on.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know what I mean? And so here's the thing. And it doesn't mean anything as far as like, are aliens going to show up tomorrow? Because if I was aliens,
showed up yesterday.
Because if I was aliens and I came here and I saw what the fuck was going down, I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here too. Y'all ain't ready. We have to come back later. This is not. You still don't got health care. Why would we come and give y'all some shit? You know what I mean? Like you get.
I think at most. If aliens have technology that can move, if that's an alien life form that has technology that can move like that and operate like that, at most they don't consider us intelligent life form.
No,
they look at us like we look at a zoo.
That's what I think. Or ants.
We are a zoo.
Or ants. Like if ants probably see humans too, and they're just like, when are they gonna come and talk to us? And we're like,
have you ever had a fish tank or seen a fish tank with like a really aggressive fish? That if you put your finger up to the fish tank, the fish will kind of attack your finger.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's probably what that fighter jet looked like to that alien craft. Like, hey, look at it, man. It's fucking trying to do what I'm doing, you know?
And it's like, all right, that's enough. I'm out of here. Boop. And it's just...
Yeah. Like, look, this is so cute, man. It's trying to mimic me. Look at it.
Should we step on it? No? Okay, we're going to go. You know what I mean? Speaking of going, man, what you got going on this week?
I had a whole bunch of writing going on, and I'm gonna throw some shit on the grill. It's 4th of July. I'm an American. My people built this motherfucker. I'll celebrate it every guy.
Are you in Indy next weekend?
I am Indianapolis next weekend on the 10th.
Nice.
And at Crackers.
Where can people find you?
XL Comedy at XLCOMEDY.
Nice. I will actually be at Crackers in Indy on the 9th. Opening for Rob Hines, who's not here. Get to Robert_L_Hines for all his crazy show dates while he's in town. Find me at Mocha_Jesus for all my stuff on Twitter and Instagram. You can go to itsbobbyhill.com if you want my calendar dates. Make sure you get over to the podcast at New OGs Pod. Follow us there. Find us on Twitch and YouTube. Like and subscribe to the fucking show, baby. And then get over to People of Comedy at People of Comedy and People of Comedy Network on Twitter and Instagram. Find them online. Watch some other podcasts besides ours or listen to them, whatever you want to get them. Kill Gallant's Pub, Parental Advisory, you name it. Go find them. Go find us. We'll be back here next week. That's it. That's what's up. We out of here.
Falling. I'm a zigzag through the gang like go smoking on trees. Niggas won't work with us, they pay a fee. Diamonds, they smell sand cheese. Can't find too many better than me. All about getting cheddar and D. While I'm mozzarella.